Clean energy and cutting waste are two big challenges facing us today. Luckily, we don't need to look far to find some pretty smart solutions. So welcome to Eco Africa. I am Sandra Kahumza Twinobio, joining you from Kampala, right here in Uganda.
Thank you, Sandra. Yes, sometimes it seems too difficult to fix all the problems facing our environment, but we want to show you how every little bit of progress helps. I am Chris Elems, coming to you from Lagos, Nigeria. And here's what we've got for you. How Nigeria is pushing back against single-use plastics. The valuable work of a citizen scientist of the Spanish Mediterranean coast. And how a 19-year-old inventor is bringing light to his village in Malawi. For our first report, we stay right here in Nigeria and the vibrant megacity of Lagos, which has a huge plastic waste problem. It's so bad the state government has banned plastic items that are used just once and thrown away. Many people have celebrated the decision, but as we'll see, the reaction of others shows how hard it can be to change our ways.
Lagos is literally drowning in trash. Discarded plastic packaging is everywhere. The city's waterways, in particular, have become a dumping ground for more than 130,000 tons of garbage each year. Lagos State's Environment Ministry has now banned single-use plastics and polystyrene, but it's not that easy. It's wrapped up with many people's livelihoods.
They can't cancel it just like that. There are some people that are using it as a means of living. So what would they be doing? How about the production people? What would they be doing?
I can't tell you if I'm happy or sad about this news. The takeaway styrofoam pack is cheaper than reusable plastic products. So many customers choose to get their food in the styrofoam pack because it's cheap. I don't know how the government will go about implementing this ban because it's not our fault.
Environmental researcher Temitope Sogbamu knows how damaging plastic can be. She says the government has made the right move, even if some will find it hard to adapt.
We are talking about like the informal sector, recycling companies that depend on collections of PET bottles and all of that. This will affect them. But then it's pros and cons. We are looking at the long-term environmental sustainability and effects of banning this.
Implementing the ban won't be easy. Many businesses are simply not ready. They'll need time to overhaul their production process. But activist Oluwaseyi Moejo believes it can be done.
We have once lived without plastic. There was once a Nigeria without plastic, and we survived. It is very much possible, but I understand that the convenience of plastic is quite blinding. But I would like to say this: convenience at the cost of our lives and future is too expensive.
Lagos' many street vendors will also welcome less garbage on the streets, but they don't know what they can use in place of plastic packaging.
When we think about the way people are making use of it, it's not good because it always blocks good cutters. But they can still give us chance to advise us that if they use this, they should keep it in dustbin. They should be keeping it because it's not even making sense to be putting food inside nylon because of the chemical.
Whether biodegradable or reusable packaging, there are many options out there to help with polystyrene and plastic waste.
Indeed, there are. And some of those alternatives have been around for a very long time. We visited some people in southwestern Nigeria who are helping to bring back a traditional food packaging that is completely natural, grows in abundance, and it's even thought to have taste-boosting properties.
This is no religious ceremony, but you could call it a form of nature worship. It is a publicity event for climate protection organized by a Nigerian NGO that wants people to use these large, highly practical leaves instead of plastic packaging.
Innovating is doing is related to biodiversity, and it's a strategic project, meaning the first of its kind in Nigeria.
The group launched the Plant No Plastic project in 2015 after witnessing how single-use plastics had swamped southwestern Nigeria. Its aim is to encourage communities to replace plastic wrapping with the robust, glossy leaves of the catamfe or miracle fruit plant, also known by its Latin name, Tomatococos danieli.
We train the farmers even right there in their villages. We gather them together and we train them on the planting of Tomatococos danieli, the maintenance in terms of agronomic practices to ensure that the leaves are well planted to specifications and at the same time are well nurtured to maturity on the farm.
Miracle fruit plants are mainly cultivated by women in cacao plantations as a form of agroforestry. The plants thrive in the soil beneath the trees and the leaves can be harvested every 3 months. Oyinda Mola Emmanuel is taking part in the Trust's initiative. Together with other women, she is learning how to properly wrap food here in Iwo, in the state of Osun. She started 2 weeks ago. Today, she and her colleagues are preparing bean cakes.
The reason why I'm learning how to wrap bean cake with leaves is to understand the technique of how to wrap food in leaves. With this, I can start selling wrapped food in order to earn an income.
Transporting the miracle plant leaves from the farm to local markets can be quite a challenge. The buyers are both private individuals and food vendors who use them as wraps. A bunch of 10 to 12 leaves can cost upwards of 200 naira, the equivalent of around 12 euro cents. The trust offers buyers microcredit financing to encourage take-up. In Nigeria, street food is often cooked and wrapped in plastic bags. But customers overwhelmingly agree that the food tastes far better wrapped in the leaves. And then, of course, there are the huge environmental advantages. According to the UN, Nigeria produces around 2.5 million tons of plastic every year, making it the 9th worst plastic polluter in the world.
Presently, waste is a problem to the environment. The leaf on its own is biodegradable. That is, it can easily be decomposed. So it cleans itself from the environment. Unlike polyamide product like nylon, like plastic, that stays in the environment for a number of years.
Since the Nigerian government imposed a ban on single-use plastics in January 2024, there is another good reason to use the leaves. It is a chance to turn back the clock and return to a leaf with a long tradition here.
The miracle plant leaf is very important here in southwest Nigeria because of its health benefits. Using these leaves to wrap food has been around since time immemorial. Medical experts have also told us that using plastic to wrap food comes with health risks and can lead to cancer.
There is hope that this healthy, sustainable resource can be used for more than just wrapping food.
We need a machine that can fabricate these leaves into plates and into cup, so that instead of using a plate, which is a plastic kind of plate to eat, you have a better alternative, a better option to use a leaf, well made and shaped for you to eat.
The group hoped to raise awareness of the benefits of these natural substitutes and make a key contribution to reducing plastic waste.
Modern cities don't just suffer from waste problems. Housing shortages are a big problem too. Rents are rising and space is tight. Fortunately, there are many ideas being developed to solve some of these issues.
That's right, Chris. In some parts of the world, tiny houses are becoming a trend. As their name suggests, They are small, one-room dwellings that can be built quickly and easily. But we wanted to know, are they also climate-friendly?
A big trip for a small house, a tiny house. It's being set up in Hanover, Germany, in the backyard of an apartment building owned by the Municipal Housing Association. It was produced in Estonia and cost 10,000 euros to transport. So far, 4 of them have been set up here, costing 80,000 euros each. Banker Daniel Weiss lives in one of them.
I actually feel more comfortable in smaller spaces, but the problem was I'm more of a city person, and until now there were no projects like this in the city.
The washing machine is suitably tiny. With just 30 square meters of space, every centimetre counts. It's minimalism down to a fine art. And yet 150 people applied to live here. Daniel Weiss had to give a PowerPoint presentation before gaining approval. Housing is scarce in many parts of Germany. In the past, people on a decent income could afford single-family homes like these. But now they're in short supply and prices have soared. For carpenter Ulf Trubel and his partner Diana Reintjes, this has provided a business opportunity. They build tiny houses. When they're finished, they drive them down the Autobahn to customers. Tiny house estates are springing up all over Germany. Ulf Trubel and Diana Reintjes also live in one of these communities. But for the most part, local authorities only allow tiny homes on campsites. That's because many town councils are reluctant to recognise this new type of construction as a house. For owners of tiny homes, it's hard to understand. Many are pretty fed up and want to be given equal rights.
A house like this would fit anywhere. What does it matter if it's on wheels or not? We actually build them with and without wheels. Why do we insist on these strict rules that stipulate houses in the village have to have red roofs or green roofs or whatever? It's nonsense.
Tiny houses are in vogue. Less is more. Many also assume tiny homes are more eco-friendly, but that's only partially true. It's certainly the case that tiny homes are often built of wood from managed forests, which are therefore sustainable. And they have a smaller carbon footprint than buildings made of concrete. Producing just 1 ton of cement alone emits around 600 kilos of CO2. But on the other hand, tiny homes are less energy efficient. Even though only a small room needs heating, that room has a comparatively large area of outside walls where heat can escape. In 2022, more than 1 million refugees came to Germany. That's further increased the pressure on the housing market. And that in turn is pushing up orders for tiny homes. Here in northern Germany, tiny houses are already being used for Ukrainian refugees. We meet one family who moved in here last year. Jana Pleszak considers herself lucky, even though there are 4 of them living in this brand new tiny home. There's 1 bedroom for her young son and her sister-in-law, another for herself and her husband. The municipality paid 90,000 euros for it. Jana Pleszak had to leave her small farm in Ukraine. The whole family then moved to Germany. Her new home is small but nice. And Jana Pleszak says she can imagine living here with her family for quite a while.
We know that our planet is getting hotter, but by how much exactly and how quickly? A citizen scientist in Spain is using his passion to make a key contribution to existing knowledge, proving that even a hobby has the power to make a difference. Let's take a look.
It's just after dawn, but Josep Pascual is a man on a mission. He's heading out to sea. The 73-year-old collects weather data on land and in the water.
I use these special thermometers that you can lower into the sea. After around 5 minutes, they flip over and display the temperature in the deep.
Pascual knows all about the sea and how to measure it. For over half a century, the topographer and son of a fisher has pursued his hobby off the coast of Lestartit in northeastern Spain. Weather permitting, he goes to sea twice a week to document water temperatures in the Mediterranean.
It's my life, my place. It's almost like a drug. Ever since I was little, it's thrilled me, mainly because data like this didn't exist when I was 15 or 20 years old.
Having reached his first measuring point, Josep lowers one of his devices. It shows that at a depth of 30 meters, the water temperature is close to 16 degrees Celsius. Pascual says the sea surface has warmed by a full degree since he began taking measurements.
It's worrying because rising temperatures cause the water to expand, and with it, the sea level to rise. We can see this on the beaches too. Each year they get half a meter narrower. I verified it. The beach here has shrunk by 15 meters since 1993.
Along with the temperature, Pascual measures the water's salt content, providing vital info that fishermen like Isaac Moya have come to rely on.
Our work is closely connected to this data. If we knew a bit more about it all, like he does, we'd be better fishers, for sure.
There are species of fish that can't cope with the rising temperatures, and yet others that are used to warmer water now come up north from more southern areas.
Josep Pascual meticulously notes the coordinates and measurements. Then, at the local tourist info office, he transfers the data to a website used by scientists worldwide.
NASA saw my data in an American trade magazine and compared them to their own findings. They said now they know their satellite instruments are working correctly.
Pascual's collection of years of data has also made an impression in Barcelona. At the Institute of Marine Sciences, researchers probe how climate change affects plants and animals, and humans. Especially the Arctic is affected, says oceanographer Jordi Salat, but so is the Mediterranean.
We're observing bigger changes on the water's surface than in other seas around the world. There are regions we call hotspots, and the Mediterranean is one of them.
Pascual's hobby has grown in importance in this era of climate change, which is why it's his mission to keep taking measurements and do his bit to slow down global warming.
It's painful because it's not a natural process. You can see how everything's changing, how we're changing it. Everything's interconnected. Even if only a small part becomes destabilized, everything's thrown out of balance.
Josep Pascual has no children, but hopes to find someone to carry on his legacy. Still, he plans to keep going out to sea and conducting his measurements for as long as he can.
From Spain, we head south to Morocco, where human-induced climate change is already affecting the country's agriculture. And farmers there not only need to adapt how they water and harvest crops, they are facing rising costs for the fuel they use to do it. Fortunately, they are increasingly able to turn to another abundant energy resource, the sun.
Solar power is gaining ground in the agricultural sector as more solar arrays are being set up to cover on-site energy needs. The irrigation pumps on Moroccan farmer Ahmed Belazar's fields have been powered by the sun for 5 years now. He used to rely on butane gas, a fossil fuel he has had to buy in the city.
We were determined to stop contributing to the damage being inflicted on our environment. So we decided to switch to solar power as a clean, eco-friendly alternative. It's a good investment. It's more profitable in terms of business and better for our machinery.
This farm is located in Kenitra, an arid region in the northeastern part of Morocco. For the past 10 years, fruit and olive trees have mainly been grown in the sandy soil here, which can only be done using drip irrigation.
We mix an organic substance with the sand. Then we put it into these holes. These hoses function as distributors.
And to keep the hoses from getting blocked, several thousand euros were invested in an elaborate filter system. The water that is pumped out of the catch basin is filtered before being spent through pipes to the fields.
The filters need regular checks and maintenance because they are vital to the process. They're especially important for what's known as localized irrigation, which requires water that's free of any sort of impurity.
Its 70 solar panels required an investment worth approximately 80,000 euros, but the system meets all the farm's electricity needs. Companies like Tech Maroc have had their work cut out in recent years. After initial installation, technicians make regular maintenance checks.
After turning on the pump, water immediately flows into the tank, which is now full of water. The tube, which is connected to filters, channels the water to be used for irrigation.
Even though renewables are rarely subsidized by the government, more and more farmers are switching to solar power. In the last few years alone, another 10,000 solar systems have been installed on Morocco's farms. Tech Maroc is benefiting from this trend. They offer solar panels with different power ratings depending on how much electricity is needed. Used mostly for irrigation to treat produce or make biofertilizers, Beleza says green energy is worth the investment.
Instead of investing in gas-operated machines, which are expensive, we can opt for renewable energy, and it's actually very profitable. Because within 2 years, I can recoup the money paid out for the equipment. And after that, I'm making a profit.
So farmers like Ahmed Beleza can kill two birds with one stone. They earn more while also taking better care of the environment.
Such large-scale solar power requires a lot of investment, which is slowing installations in many countries, and some places simply don't still have access to any sort of electricity at all.
But as one young innovator in Malawi is proven with efforts and imagination, plus a lot of determination, we can make a big difference to our local community, and it can be sustainable too.
Only 12% of the population in Malawi have access to electricity. But that's changing, in some places at least. Like here in the village of Chinguwu, thanks to this ingenious young inventor. Ernest Andulu has harnessed the laws of thermal dynamics that he first observed in the world around him. I had to do some investigating to understand the whole process. Later, I collected stones that I used to make magnets. The 19-year-old is illuminating homes one by one and transforming his home village in rural central Malawi. The technology is enabling residents to make more of the hours of darkness for work, study, or leisure. Technology specialists in the area are now calling for special policies to support innovators like him.
So this policy will be able to identify the key players, clearly define the laws,
even define the funding mechanisms.
Ernest Andulu's electricity generation project is under evaluation by the Malawi Energy Regulatory Authority. The body says the project has to adhere to safety guidelines.
Sometimes the answers are on our own doorsteps. Thanks for coming along today. Do check out Eco Africa online for more stimulating reports and ideas. I am Chris Alems in Lagos, Nigeria.
Bye, Chris, and see you next time. And thank you to all of you for joining us. We'll be back next week with more insights and inspiration. I am Sandra Kahomza Twinovideo, signing off from Kampala, right here in Uganda. Bye.